Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to show you how to change out a wheel bearing on an F15 X5. I've made another video on my channel back in the day when I had an E70 X5, and the procedure is going to be pretty similar as this part number is the same, but my production quality has improved over time. So I'm going to show you how to do it on my 2015 X-Drive 50i. We're going to have to remove this axle nut, so we're going to have to get in behind these little tangs and knock them back out. This is a 12.36 mil socket. I'm using a 1/2 inch to 3/4 converter. I'll put a link in the description for this hardware. You may need to use a really large breaker bar to remove this, or you can use an impact. Makes quick work of it. As long as you get these started out of the way, they'll kind of push themselves the rest of the way out when you start backing it out. And you have to replace them with a new one. So of course, the link will be in the description for this as well as a new bearing. I'm just testing the waters here, seeing if my center punch will create movement in this axle, or if I'll have to fight it. I see it moving, so that's pretty good. So if you're in the north and you have rust going on, you may have a little harder time with that, where you really got to beat on it. Ideally, you should use a center punch, but if you really have to, then you can sacrifice the old nut to do it, but still you could damage the threads in the front and create yourselves a problem. By inserting my screwdriver here, I'm collapsing the piston inside the caliper so it'll be able to clear the rotor. I'm getting prepared with the J-hook. The caliper bolts to hold the entire assembly on are E18s. You may want to take out your pad wear sensor in advance so you don't damage it. So I have my caliper just hanging up and out of the way. This is a 6 mil Allen. I broke it free quite easily because it's a Southern car again. So for a Southern car, they gave me a pretty hard time and fought me, but WD-40 and smacking on the rotor face got it off. There's 4 10 mil bolts here to hold the shield on. There's 4 T60 bolts holding in the bearing itself. I remember on my E70 these bolts were a little bit different. They're like a 12 point instead of a Torx. They look a little different on this car. I'm going to cut the wheel in the opposite direction now. .5 mil Allen for these 2 bolts. The bracket's in the way. My bearing's being pretty cooperative. It's already starting to come away from the spindle. I'm going to recommend that you guys have this handy when you're doing this job, because even though this is relatively clean, it still gave me a hard time. So plan on having a 3-jar puller. They're not that expensive. And it's a handy tool to own down the line. Torquing that to 80 foot-pounds. you don't have a heavy duty impact wrench, then you're going to have to put this on the ground and pop your center cap off your wheel so that you can pass your socket through it and use the weight of the car and torque this down. I think it's 265 foot-pounds up to 315 foot-pounds depending on the spec of the car. So basically just call it a 315 foot-pounds. You won't be able to do that without putting a pipe on the end of a breaker bar, etc. Or just use a really high-end impact like this and just basically go hard at it. I got my battery at full charge. These notches on the axle that have to be knocked in. So you want to use a flat-tipped punch like this. Alright guys, there you go. That's how you change a wheel bearing on an F15 or X16 X5, which is actually pretty much identical to an E70 X5. I have another video on my channel regarding that, but I kind of learned my lessons on that video and condensed this into a much more fluid video where I didn't have any issues along the way. So if this is the first video you're catching on mine, consider subscribing. I do upload regularly. Thanks for watching. Wow.